Wax.
Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. Yes, you can share that link that was at the bottom of the email. I am joined by, when I was introduced to you, I was, the guy told me, he said that you were a rapper, producer, and diving into this, it turns out that you're a lot more. Hey, guys, please. It turns out that there's a lot more to what you're doing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I'm just going to try to share this link real quick on my Facebook. Just live now.
There you go.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Post that.
So
I'm sorry.
What we were talking backstage beforehand, you asked me if I was from Maryland, and I was like, yes. You grew up in Maryland. A different part of Maryland than I live in. It's kind of, I like to say, in the middle of nowhere. It's down on the Chesapeake there. Why don't we start off with you're down there? How did that shape your approach to music, and how did you get into music down there?
I grew up in Dunkirk, Maryland. I was born in DC. I was adopted by my parents who raised me, and they lived in PG County and then moved when I was a little baby to Dunkirk, which is a very kind of safe suburb of Washington, D.C. And when I was growing up, now it's suburban and has all the Panera Bread and Chipotle, and there's like 5 grocery stores. When I grew up there, it was rural, and there wasn't even a stoplight, like it was a big deal when we got a McDonald's when I was 15, and actually they had an opening ceremony for the local McDonald's, and my band played at the opening of the Dunkirk McDonald's, which I later worked at. But we played at the opening, and we opened for the Ronald McDonald and Grimace show.
Nice. Did this become the hangout for the high school kids?
No, it was 7-Eleven, the parking lot at 7-Eleven. Actually, that's how. Yeah,
man.
Yeah, like that's and people would drive around once they got old enough and just go to back roads and smoke really, 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 really inferior to now marijuana.
Brickweed, baby, brickweed.
I wouldn't even know how to get the kind of weed that people used to smoke where I'm from. I don't know. Half of it was seeds, quarter of it was stems. By the time you de-seeded your eighth, it'd be a nickel.
It had been flattened into a surfboard to be shipped into the
yeah. You could see tire tracks on it.
Get the popcorn when you hit it, all the little pieces popping.
Yep. Yeah. You can't even find that anymore. But it's funny because you asked how that shaped my musical upbringing, and I think that a lot of people get to music because there's not really much else to do, So, I watched a lot of MTV. My dad was kind of a couch potato, so we were the first people on our block to get cable, and this was in the 80s, and MTV was a big part of my childhood, and it made me want to rap, and it made me want to play guitar, and that's why I think that I never really thought it was much of a difference, like the big difference between hip hop and rock and funk and any genre. I was kind of like, well, it's all on MTV, I guess. So I kind of idolized everybody on there when I was a little kid. And
I'm with you so much. Let's talk about MTV a little. I always muse on the fact that like bands like Heart and Chicago, and to a lesser extent ZZ Top, Boston, with Amanda, they tried to adapt to MTV and it didn't work because I think the visual medium part of it is where a lot of them failed.
I disagree on ZZ Top because I think they actually did well with this visual. So I know what you're saying, especially Chicago, great example. Chicago wasn't able to make the transition. And I just saw a documentary with Christopher Cross also being somebody who couldn't make that transition. But ZZ Top, I mean, they were able to be like, hello.
Hey there. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can. I guess we're getting a little bit of background from you. It's okay. I guess my thing with ZZ Top is that I don't know, the music isn't the same. They embraced keyboards and they had the synthesizers. There I am being that guy.
Yeah, well, when I think of ZZ Top on MTV in my childhood, I think of legs, and I think of them going like, At the end of the thing, they'd always go
Right.
like that. But what they did is they go, okay, well, we're not great looking guys, but we at least have a look. So we can find a great looking girl and we just look like, they always appear like an apparition in the video. Like they're not like the love interest.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Right. So how much did MTV open you up to music that wasn't Dunkirk, Maryland kind of music, for lack of a better term? I'm sure that Maryland, there was a lot of Leonard Skinner going on, a lot of 98 rock kind of thing, probably. Did MTV open up doors? Seeing Michael Jackson? I know when I saw Michael Jackson, I was like, what is going on with that?
I mean, honestly, when I was so young that I didn't know that was my first introduction to music ever, besides anything my parents and like my aunt or whatever would play,
Mhm.
So I was, I'm 6 years old, and the first thing I'm seeing is like Madonna or Janet Jackson or whatever, So it was all new to me, and it was all interesting to me. And I think that the visual aspect of it too was just as interesting as the audio,
Right. There you go. How we doing, Amanda?
Oh, great. Hello from Denver International.
Nice.
Oh, it's a great airport.
Yes, it's my local airport. So I'm just past the security line, and no one looks too angry yet. Apologies for being late.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. So all right, let's go on. You were opening up. Your band was opening up for Grimace and Ronald. What kind of band was this? Were you punk? Were you rock?
Well, at that time I was 15, so we kind of did a little bit of everything. But our main thing that we gravitated, I would say that if you had to say a band we were the most like, it would have been the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And as we got older and got into, the band stayed together from when I was 14 till I was about 25. This band was together, and we added members. So by the time we graduated, AKA the band broke up, we had a horn section, so we had a 6-piece band, and we went through a couple different iterations. But I have a twin brother, and me and him and my boy Frazier that played drums were always the main kind of focus of the band.
Was it original?
It was called, yeah. I mean that, like when we did the McDonald's thing at 15, we were doing some covers. We did a Diggable Planets cover, Ohio Players cover. We did a Green Day cover. We did a Grateful Dead cover. We were kind of doing everything because we were just kids. We didn't know what was going on. But still, like when I first picked up a guitar, I always, like, since a kid, when you watch MTV, I always thought, like, okay, the point of this is that you make up your own songs. I always thought that was the whole point, whereas I realized getting older, talking to other musicians, that not everybody saw it like that. Not everybody saw the guitar as a tool for songwriting, but I always assumed that was the vibe,
There you go. I hear you. I thought Amanda was going to say something there. All right. So, what was the name of the band? I cut you off before you said that.
The name of the band was McGregor.
McGregor.
Like,
okay.
The name McGregor.
Right. So you
can still hear two of our albums. They're on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
You can check them out if you want.
I'll dig up a link and throw it in the show notes down there. So you learned to write songs during that period of life. How did you make the jump to doing hip hop?
I mean, I was kind of doing hip hop in the band too. Like I was always the front man, so I'd play guitar and rap.
Okay.
So, what I mean? I always thought it was kind of like the same thing.
Okay. So there wasn't much difference to even writing like the lyrics and the approach to creating the songs?
Well, it became a different thing when I would meet people that I'd collaborate with, say that they made beats, and then I would just write to their beat. That's definitely a different songwriting process than if you write your own stuff completely with a guitar, which is still right now I'm working on several different projects. One of them is I'm actually going to his studio in 2 days. He's a beat maker, and it's like he gives me the beat and I do all the melodies and lyrics. And then I have another project I'm working on. It's all acoustic, so I just go sit next to the water and write, like, I guess I'm assuming the way that Jack Johnson or somebody like that would. I don't know.
Right.
Let the waves give you the songs, man.
Donovan Frankenfritter or Frankenwriter, whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah.
Have you all Have you all talked about Spotify and streaming platforms? When you mentioned that you had some stuff up there, I was just curious what your experience has been in terms of, do you feel like that's given you an outlet to share? Does it make it easier at all for you to get things in front of people? What's been your take on all that?
It's interesting. I think Spotify is a great tool. It's awesome as a fan that you can have access to any song of all time. I will say that nowadays it's so oversaturated that a lot of people when they listen to music on Spotify, they're on their phone. So they're only giving it half of their attention because they're getting all these other notifications and you know when you listen to a vinyl record and you sit down and drop the needle, for example, like you kind of give the thing your whole attention, like the way when you watch a movie at the movie theater. And when you listen to something on your phone and you're also looking at you're like it's in the background, you're looking at your Instagram, you're pulling up TikTok, then all of a sudden it cuts the phone sound off because the app's it's like a little bit, it makes the musical a little cheap.
Right.
But I have a good experience with the streaming services in terms of like it's a good source of income for me. You know what I mean? It's nice that when people stream it, I make some money. Who doesn't wish it was more?
Right.
But
Right. What about YouTube? Because you were big on YouTube.
I was when I was doing YouTube at my height on YouTube was like 2011 or 12, like 12 years ago, and I was making some money from that. But now it's kind of dwindled. I make more money from the Spotify and Apple Music type of thing where people just listen to the audio. I mean, yeah.
They I guess the thing with Spotify is they don't sell music, they sell subscriptions. So they don't care how it sounds. They don't care what you're listening to as long as your $6.99 check clears,
Right.
draw off your bank clears.
Yeah, and I mean, the CEO of Spotify is richer than any musician on there, and he's never written a song before. Is what people say.
He probably has taken his picture off the website too.
Right, right.
All right, let's get into a little of the creative process. I feel like that you have a balance between humor and introspection in your
Yeah.
how do you get that balance, and how do you decide on the tone of something when you start off? I guess you start off, you have a line, couple lines rhyme, you're like, let's build off this.
Well, let's start with this. The combination of humor and introspection. You just mentioned you just made a joke about the CEO that got killed. So life is both meaningful, sad, and hilarious. You know what I mean? So you can all these things. If you write about your life, you really can't help but being both sad and humorous at the same time, because that's what all this thing is. It's so absurd that it's there's a thin line between laughter and crying. You know what I mean? But for me, the creative process will sometimes I'll just be walking down the street and something will just like a chorus of a song will just pop into my head as if like God put it there. But then with rapping, it's interesting because a lot of times you'll just hear a word that somebody says, like somebody be like gorgonzola, you'd be like, damn, gorgonzola, that kind of rhymes with organ donor. You know what I mean? Like you'll just hear these words and like you'll write them down, and then like later on you'll use them in a song, and you'll figure out a way to make these rhymed words make sense. I just was always obsessed with the actual words rhyming. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you handwrite? Do you use a computer? You use notes on your phone?
A few years back, I stopped. I use the yellow notepad app on my phone. Yeah.
Right. There's something to be
I
said.
miss it though.
When I get the urge to write poetry, I break out a typewriter still, because it
Nice.
forces me to stop.
I told you I did stand-up comedy for a few years, and I would only write that. I bought a notebook, and I have a few notebooks that I use for that, and I would only write comedy in my notebooks, and that would separate it from the music,
Right.
just as an organizational practice.
I was wondering, so I was a teacher for a long time, and in teaching, it's very well known and understood that you are going to take best practices from others, right, in whatever way, and you give credit for that, but it's almost a sign of respect to say what this person did or learned is something that I want to do. For you and in your music community, is that similar? Or is it something different?
Well, there are some techniques that you learn from other people that you like to give them credit. I mean, I I took that. I did stand up for a couple of years, and my teacher, I took a stand up class from a teacher named Jerry Katzman, and he would just tell me something. The simple thing that he said was like, if you're doing comedy, just every time you tell a story, stop saying I and start saying you. Like instead of saying, because nobody cares what you did, everybody cares about themselves. Everybody's a narcissist. So if you go like, hey, I went to the grocery store today, it's that people already are tuning out. If you go like, when you go to the grocery store and you walk through the aisle and you
Yep.
have it, you know what I'm saying? And I think that I applied that concept not only to the comedy writing, but even to my music as well. Because there's so many places where that Venn diagram it overlaps, But that was just the first thing I thought of when you asked. I think you're essentially asking like if anybody else taught me a technique that I still use in terms of writing, and I think that that's the first thing that popped up in my head.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I did sketch kind of comedy stuff, improv for a little
Oh, cool.
while,
Nice.
very, very casually. But I, on a daily basis, still use the yes and some of those techniques are just incredibly effective. So I appreciate that you mentioned that because now I'm going to notice that and I'm going to think about it.
Yeah, because the people think that comedians are telling stories, but a lot of times it's a story, but if they just sat there and told stories, people would be kind of bored, And not everybody. Everybody has a different way of doing it. What did you teach?
I taught middle school language arts and writing and then technology for about 12 years. And I just say some of that sketch comedy stuff, even though I only really did that for a short time, was probably more effective than a lot of what I learned in education school in terms of dealing with middle schoolers, especially.
Right.
But just people, right? And you have people in front of you and you're trying to keep their attention and get points across and, all that. So maybe there's some similarities.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, my mom was a middle school English teacher, and so I know how challenging that is. But yeah, I think the techniques you learn in improv are also good for social anxiety and just being in the world and being a little bit comfortable with being crazy and silly, you know what I mean, which I think is important, and it takes it like takes the pressure off what other people think of you.
Totally agree.
The writing in the second person is one of my knocks against some songwriters is when it is always I instead of saying even we instead of I, because if you say we and you're in a crowd hearing that, you're like, yeah, it's me and you, buddy, we're in this together.
Right, we are the champions, not I am the champion, right? But in music, it is a little bit easier to do the I. It's still it's different songs are different things, but I in music make people go like, I relate to that more so than like somebody just standing there talking, because you can hook people. Music hooks people in without words,
Right. In college, I wrote a whole thing in second person, which was weird to write, but it's neat to read because you hear I in your head when you read the word you.
Right.
So, is there well when you do freestyle, right?
Yeah.
That's one of your things there. How do you, is there a different process for that since it is in the moment and it's just you on stage than having stuff written out? Or do you have bits? Do you have stock pieces that you can pull off of, that you can vamp off of maybe?
I think any person that freestyles, whether it's a rapper or a guitarist playing a solo, if you listen to enough guitar solos by the same person, you'll hear them repeat the same riffs all the time. Even especially like I'm good friends with Eric Krasno from Soul Live and Lettuce. And when you hear him play, you're like, oh my God. But when he hears himself play, he's like, God, I'm stuck on the same patterns, And it's the same thing. Like if you're a rapper and you're freestyling in the moment, and you say, I just went to the store. You already are thinking more. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're going to develop certain things that wasn't even the best example, but you know what I mean. Like especially if you're like, my name is Michael Jones. I know that it rhymes with microphone. So if every time that I rap and say my name is Michael Jones, I would say microphones. Or like if your name is Wax, you're gonna know tracks and whatever, like. So you get stuck in certain things.
How do you keep your skills sharp and stay inspired then?
Well, you know what I try to do, especially I, you know, I basically quit partying a few years ago. So now when I go on tour, I challenge myself in various ways. Like when I do my acoustic section of my set, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do different songs every night. I'm not going to just fall into like keeping it easy. And then I'll do a freestyle about whatever city I'm in, So I'll before the show, I'll find some of the audience. I'll be like, hey, what's something that only people from Indianapolis know about? So I can like freestyle about that. And then, but you find little things. So like no matter what city you go to, you find out what the baseball team is. So all of a sudden, I got more hits than the Baltimore Orioles. I got more hits than the Washington Nets. I got more hits than the, what I'm saying? Like, and everybody's like, oh, how did he think to say I got more hits than the Padres, But you find like little things that you can, it's kind of a cheat code,
Right. I saw KRS-One once, and he did like South Bronx, Bridges Over kind of medley. And then for the next half hour, he freestyled. And he was just like history of the 1800s.
Right.
What is going on?
Well, okay, so this makes me curious. Do you do battle raps? Sorry, Kev. I think my connection cut off. Or have you done like battle rap stuff if you like to freestyle?
I have done that way in the past, and and like with friends at parties, I still would, you know what I mean? But I never really got into, I never really like became a battle rapper, I was always more into the music.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not sure even how much of that still happens. Have you ever heard of compliment battles?
I have, yeah, I have.
Okay, those are my all-time favorite. Kev, if I haven't shared some of those with you, I will. But
yeah, I know some of those dudes that do some of the pioneers of the compliment battles, like Thesaurus. I know some of those people. Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's an interesting way to me when you love words to see how people can turn things around so quickly and kind of react to what's happening. And then the compliment battle one is like a whole other level to me because you got to keep that in mind, and that's amazing, like for different reasons.
Yeah. I've seen a few of the compliment battles. I got to watch some more for sure. I definitely got to watch some more. But I know that, rest in peace to Pat Stay. Pat Stay was friends with Sharon, and I know through Sharon, not to whatever, but I know that Pat Stay loved my music.
Nice.
Hell
That's
yeah.
crazy.
I'm a huge fan. I was a huge fan of his. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, nice.
All right, let's talk about Scumbag. When our mutual friend said, hey, check this guy out, that's the song I came across first. And a little bit hip hop, a little bit funk, a little bit acoustic. I'm sure that there's a consciousness to blending those genres, but that's fantastic. Is this part of the acoustic project you mentioned, or is that something else besides the other things?
No, that project was part of an album I did called Living Foul. That was a part of my life where I was living foul. Like I was just kind of a mess, and whatever's going on in my life, that's what's going on in my music too. So Scumbag was about if you're living, especially as a touring musician and you're doing kind of scumbaggy things, and just kind of like living the road lifestyle, and it's the more of
being a walk.
Yeah, kind of. And after a while, that'll build on you because like you're not talking to your family as much, and you're just kind of like out in this other world. And that was the opening song on my album called "Living Foul." Okay. And yeah, it's basically like it sounds like a Johnny Cash song to some extent, And I was really loved.
You ever heard the Super Suckers?
Yeah.
Reminded me a little bit of what Eddie Spaghetti does with the acoustic stuff.
Wow, yeah. I remember the Super Suckers. I'm sorry, not the Super Soakers. Different thing.
Right. Now, when did that come out?
That was 2015.
Okay, so this was pre-COVID. That's when you started getting into comedy, I guess.
Yeah, that's around the same time, yeah.
Right.
I did comedy from 2015 to 2020, and I stopped because of COVID. I just never started back up.
Right. So let me throw COVID out to you. How was your COVID?
It was rough for me, man. Did you find any
good things? Did you get good things out of it? Maybe a chance to step back and evaluate, or I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, because again, I quit drinking in 2018, and in COVID in 2020, when it happened, I really went through like a depressed period, and I moved because of that. I actually moved away from Los Angeles, where I'd lived for 13 years, and moved to San Diego to be near my twin brother who lives down here. And because of that, I was down here, and I met my wife down here. Since then, we got, since I met her as my girlfriend first. That's when I met her. She was just a random person, but I met her. We started dating. We got married. Now we have children. Now we live together, all within the spirit period of 3 years. So really, it was like, COVID was rough for me for a little bit, it actually was really turned out to be the best thing that happened in my life.
We hear a lot of that. We hear a lot of that from people, that it's as messed up as it was for the world in general, and a lot of people personally. You have the chance to write, you get off the road, that kind of thing.
Yeah, a lot of musicians a lot of musicians actually spent more time with their kids, you know what I mean?
Maybe practiced a little.
Yeah, they all started podcasts, which they no longer do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the ones that are sticking it out, you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah,
You're doing
yeah.
it. But yeah, at first it was really surprising to me when we started hearing over and over again how, in some ways, beneficial that COVID quarantine time was. But it makes sense. And it shows that in the middle of such chaos, good things can still happen and beautiful things come out of those moments in time anyway, historically. So, I think it's a great reminder that even with all that was happening, and we have so much new music now, things are still popping that were recorded then. And
I think
it's
that people appreciate more the people appreciate concerts more now because they know what it's like for them not to exist, and it could be taken away. You know what I mean?
In a heartbeat. So what music of yours came out after COVID? What did you work on during COVID and was released after?
Oh, you know what? That my brand new album that is only out on vinyl, actually, that just came out last month, called Lifetime Achievement Award. I started on that during COVID for sure. That we kind of worked on that for a couple of years and then sat on it for a little while because we wanted to. It took a long time to get the vinyl press and get the artwork done and all this stuff, and we purposely tried to make an album that was just a record, from the visual presentation to the sound of it to everything. And a lot of that was done in COVID, and me and my boy Kush, who produced the album, we had a lot of time. So
Right,
yeah,
you,
and I
you
made a
mentioned
I made a
personal.
bunch of singles. I made a bunch of like I made a bunch of just singles during COVID.
I think singles is the future. Like, we've gone back to 45s because you can release one a month
Right, right.
and
Yeah, I
get your
think that
name
I
out
think
there
that
again.
yeah, dude, I think that you can do whatever you want nowadays. I just started. Like I told you, I just released my latest album is only available on vinyl. I'm gonna probably put it on Spotify next year, but I'm just trying something different. I
Well,
started a company selling record players. I just started that, my own record player company called Wax Mode. So that just came out. So trying a bunch of new shit.
staying independent is no small feat.
Right.
I mean, what's the secret sauce?
I don't know, man. I mean, I definitely I've had times like I had a deal with Def Jam in 2011. I had a deal with Warner Music in Germany for a while, 10 years ago. Uh, Staying independent in this day and age is cool because especially it's easier for me because I'm one person, right? I don't have to split the money. If I had to split all my Spotify streams with my six-piece band, I would have to have a job, but I haven't had to have a job in a long time. And being solo is helpful in that way.
Right, sure.
But also, it I think a lot of bands have it better on the road because they have a lot more help, and also a band tends to be a better road act. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
if I could do it again, I wish I toured a little bit more. But I'm stepping that up this coming year. I'm going to be on the road a lot. So yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
What's that going to look like?
I'm gonna be on tour on the West Coast in the spring, and then I'm gonna do some East Coast stuff. I have a manager now who I just kind of recently started working with, who's like a touring guy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So he's trying to book me on more festivals and stuff like that. So
Is
we'll
it
see what happens.
is it gonna be you with a band? You're just you up there, or you with a DJ? Well, what would the format look like?
It'll probably be me with the DJ for the most part, unless it's a local show where I can have my band come through. But uh, it'll probably be me with the DJ most of the time. Well, the way that my shows usually work is I come out and I do the first third of the show with a DJ, then I do some acoustic stuff, and then it's and then I bring the DJ back up and we get hype at the end. You know, kind of like
Okay.
a you know.
So what goes into the choices for a set list? What do you are you, if you're thinking about it now, are you saying that certain songs, even if they're really old, need to be there, or how what is your approach to that? Because you have a huge catalog, you have a bunch of stuff to
Yeah,
pick from, and only a short
yeah.
time to play.
Well, I mean, you do get like when I'm the opening act and the audience doesn't know me, it'll be a different process for picking the set list because I'll more think like, hey, what would this band that I'm opening for's fan base be into, and what will work the best. Also, the set is shorter, so you have to pack more punches. But if you're the headlining act and it's your own because I've been doing this for a long time, so a lot of people that come to my shows are like, man, I've been listening to you for 20 years, so it's fun. It's actually fun to put some like I can't believe you played that. To put some deep cuts. You got to have a couple deep cuts. I'll even like take requests in the middle sometimes.
Nice. A lot of bands don't like that because I think they aren't prepared. They haven't played the song
Yeah.
in 15 years for a reason.
Well, that's an advantage to being a solo act. You don't have to be like, oh, Steve, the bass player, he doesn't know it. If you know it, no, I'm the only one that's got to know it.
There you go. I love it. I love it. So that's huge. Now, what other projects? You said that you were going to meet somebody in 2 days. Is this a
Yeah.
new record that's coming out, or is this just a single, or do you have a vision?
Me
for
and my the one I was referring to was my friend DJ Hoppa. He's a hip hop producer and DJ. He's actually my touring DJ now too. But he's kind of a legend in his own right with making beats, and he's worked with a lot of rappers and whatnot. So we're probably like halfway into a 9-song album, something like that. So we're putting together a project. That's pretty much like that. So I have like all these half finished projects, man. I have a lot of half finished things, and plus I have a
boxes of
1-year-old daughter. I have a 1-year-old daughter, which makes everything in life is harder.
Right.
Everything, it's impossible to get anything done.
Kevin and we're both at different phases of all of that. I have a 12-year-old, and then Kevin's daughters are late teens.
Done. I'm almost. I'm out. I'm out. I'm no longer legally responsible for another.
Are they all daughters between both of you?
She has a son.
No, I have a son.
Oh, yours a son. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I am no longer legally responsible for anybody else. So
I'm in the early stages. Like I was telling
you are way responsible.
Yeah. Amanda, I was telling him before you got on that yesterday was her first birthday party. It was the first time I had to put together a party for children, and it wasn't like instead, how much pizza do you get? How much, what? It's not just basic stuff,
You're like 6 will be good. 6 will be good, and it's gone. Like we ordered more.
We thought we ordered way too many, but we got just the right amount. But yeah, it was fun though. It was fun. It's quite a trip and quite relentless to be a parent.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday to all of you. I would say it's your celebration as much as it is the kiddos, for sure. At least that's how I always looked at it. Another year. So that's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
How do you find balance with all that creating, performing, kids?
I haven't. I haven't. I don't find balance. I
Hey,
just fall off I fall off the tightrope. I don't know. I
but
don't
you
find
get back
balance.
up every time. You got to
Yeah.
just get back up.
I will say, and I hear a lot of other people say this, but I will say that like it makes you the time that you do have, you use more wisely, and like you can't wait for inspiration and stuff. Like you have to whatever when you have time, you got to go. You got to do it. But it's hard, man. It's
All
hard
right,
for
so
sure.
so what is success?
I mean, for me, success would be to be just a little bit more financially free, but I think that my childhood self, if they could see what I'm doing now. I mean, I haven't had to have a job. 2009 was my last real job. I think my teenage self would say I'm successful now.
He'd high
But
five you.
you're always looking up. You're never
Right.
looking like, you're always like, what I was thinking this morning, like my townhouse that me and my wife has, my kid, we gave my daughter a bath and she has her own bath, like, and I was like, man, this is amazing. And like that's a good thought. But the other thought is like, you know, you think about what you don't have. Like we don't have a hot tub. That'd be nice. You know what I mean? That'd be cool.
I hear you. So let me ask you. We talked a little bit about this before we came on. AI and the future of music with AI. And I guess talking to you, I was like, I guess I do use it to make thumbnails and things like that. So, as much as I want to be against it, I feel like it's just got its roots down in the foundation already.
I would, yeah, and I don't know, man. Like, I think that for certain parts of the music industry, and what we were talking about, Amanda, before you got on here, was like the background music on drug commercials and stuff like that. That's already half AI, and like formulaic music will be replaced by AI music, unfortunately, and most of us won't be able to tell the difference. But I think place that comes from like music that comes from like a real emotional place, it's gonna be hard for them to replace that. And obviously, the place where you see that the most is in a live concert setting, So I mean, I don't know. Who knows where we'll be with that in 20 years? But I'm lucky that I got into it a little bit before that, I guess. But
Mm.
people definitely there's tools in AI that people are already using in a creative way,
Mhm.
That's interesting. Whether you like it or not, it's interesting. Like for me to make a song and I record my voice, but then the AI can use the song I created, but now my voice is a female voice. People
Right.
do stuff like that. And even for songwriters, if you're like, I wrote a song for you to sing and your voice is different than mine, I can have AI make my voice sound like your voice so you can
Right.
hear what it would sound like. It's kind of weird, but
Right, like the drummer for the waitresses, right? I know what girls like, even though a woman sings it on the
right.
single, you know.
Oh yeah, very very common for and the other, a girl can write a song for a man or whatever. Like it happens all the time. Yeah, Babyface wrote a lot of the Toni Braxton songs and Whitney Houston
Right.
songs and whatnot. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
Um,
But the AI writing the whole song thing is crazy. I don't know how much experimentation you've done with that, but
uh,
my friend's obsessed with it, and I was at his studio, and hey, check this out, and it's like you can if you know how to do the prompts, like it'll spit out a song that you're like it has the verse, the chorus, the bridge, the breakdown, and you're just like, man, this is pretty good.
back to the Spotify thing. Amanda and I saw an article a couple months ago about how there is a formula. You have to have it within 15 seconds. You have to have the chorus in order for people to listen to the song long enough for it. And then on top of that, some guy's getting sued in California for making fake music. They're calling it fake music. I don't know how it's fake music necessarily, but he was pumping Spotify, making millions of dollars with songs that he was doing with AI.
Mm. I mean, I don't really know how you would tell. I don't know. I'm sure there's something in the zeros and ones of the song where you can tell if it's AI or not. I have no idea, but I know that Wolfpack way back in the day, their thing was they made an album that was all silence, and they told people just to play it over and over again, and they made a bunch of money off that, and that's how they gamed Spotify. But yeah, I don't know, man. I forgot what you said before I said that. My bad. I lost my train of thought.
It's happening everywhere too. I mean, concert poster art, that's
Yeah.
becoming kind of that way too, which I've seen some artists feel as though they need to apologize if it turns out that something connected to a tour may have been made
Oh,
that
Billy
way.
Strings, right. Billy Strings had a fan
And then,
thing, and somebody
yeah,
handed in an AI poster, and then he was like, sorry, guys.
Tedeschi Trucks, I
Right.
think I saw put something out. But I guess to me, that's also a question of where's the line? I mean, if you're creative and you're utilizing different techniques, is that a technique? Where to, I don't know if that's 100% AI created that they apologized for, but it gets a little sticky, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sure that there's artists out there that say that if you're creating visual art with a mouse and keyboard rather than a paintbrush,
If you are
that
writing by hand with a quill, it isn't really.
right.
Oh, man.
I mean, there's
love it.
always been in music, there's always been people that say, like, if you don't play instruments, you're blah blah blah. But you know, just because you can, like, it's not that difficult to learn to play the basics on a guitar. You know what I mean? You might be able to, it might take you 20 years to manipulate samples or in a creative way and make beautiful music, and take you 5 days to learn to play C and G or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I
And,
don't
and then
know.
you can play Blowing in the Wind.
Right.
Either C
Or
and G.
every rose has its thorn.
Right, exactly. You know, when I first dated my ex-wife, like, I explicated that song in real time for her while we were driving one night, and I think that's one of the things that clinched it for me.
Hey.
Anything else you want to throw out there, Amanda? Any questions?
No, I appreciate your understanding of me being a little bit late. I'm just so glad that we're able to chat because I think your work really touches on so many different parts of the industry. And so thank you for coming on to talk to us about that.
Oh, it was really fun to talk to you guys. I like the casualness, and like it's not just like tell us every, just talking. It's fun.
Right. That's
That's
our
what we like,
brand.
yeah. And if I can give a quick shout out to DIA Wi-Fi for supporting this this live stream, it's been
They did
incredibly
great today.
amazing.
Yes, they get 2 thumbs up.
I'm pretty happy about it.
It's fantastic. And hang out for a minute after I run the outro, Wax. Everybody out there watching, please like, subscribe, find us on socials. We're at All That Jam Pod, wherever you social. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay. I'm just trying to, man, I totally blew that. All right, I'm going to try this again. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground.